Hello everyone, welcome to Matthew's Interviews. Today's guest joined YouTube September 6th of 2020. He has 1,911 estimated account views. His most popular video is 100 subs, thank you so much, with 140 views. He writes original creepypastas for his channel. He has 33 videos, 158 subscribers, and has been a guest on many YouTube podcasts. Please welcome Midnight Bard. Alright, Bard, how are you today, my man?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being here. I love it when someone wants to be my guest. So, alright, my real only question I'm going to directly ask, hopefully, is what drove you to become a YouTube narrator?
What drove me to become a YouTube narrator was I was sitting home bored for, I want to say 2 months whenever the mess started last year where everybody was encouraged to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Work actually laid me off for about 2 months, so I had nothing but time on my hands. What I did during that time is I tried to do a lot of exercise in my home gym. I tried to go out for walks. I tried to get creative, learn new skills. And while I was doing that, I listened to a lot of YouTube podcasts, and I arrived upon the horror narration community because I'm a huge horror fan. What ended up happening is I fell in love with a lot of it. And since I was learning new skills anyway, I thought to myself, you know what? I kind of want to try my hand at podcasting and also at voice acting, because I've always been a huge fan of animation and I wanted to be a part of it somehow. I tried being a part of it as an artist, but whenever that didn't pan out, I always kind of thought, well, maybe writing, since I enjoy writing also. And that's still in the cards. I'm still working on that. But voiceover is not something that I ever thought about until those 2 months where I had nothing but time on my hands. So I kind of started playing with the idea. I found that people were finding creepy stories to tell off Reddit and creepypasta.com, and they were making channels where they would narrate it. And I figured that's a good way for me to get my hands on this and just kind of try it out, see if I like it. And I ended up loving it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm really glad you did, because you have such an interesting, distinct voice. And
thank you.
And from what I've heard from your other podcasts, you being a guest on them, you seem like an awesome guy. What do you do for fun?
For fun? Oh gosh, I do a lot. The thing with me is that I have a lot of different interests, so finding time for just one just becomes like the most complicated thing ever. As I mentioned, I am an artist. I used to draw for a small comic book publisher here in my home state. Gosh, that was 2 years ago, I want to say. No, it was longer than that. It was right around 2014, so it was back then. So I used to do that a lot. I still do it for fun. I don't do it commercially anymore, just because people put a lot of stipulations on artwork whenever they're paying for it. And I feel like I work a lot better whenever I have no restrictions. I create things that I'm more proud of and that I feel more fulfilled by. So I just kind of stopped doing art as a job and started doing it as a hobby, which I really do enjoy. I'm a huge TV fan. Good TV shows, I'm always open to suggestions because I love losing myself in good stories. And speaking of stories, I do dabble in writing. I want to say dabble because honestly, I don't put as much effort into it as I would love to. Uh, let's see, I do have dreams of being a novelist at some point. And I have been working on a novel for 10 years. I always forget how long it is because I'll get started and then I'll put it off for a long time, and then I'll get started again and then I'll put it off again. And presently I'm at that point where I'm about to get started for the third time. So writing, the drawing, and anything involving good stories is what I do for hobbies. Additionally, I do a lot of trading card games. I'm a fan of Magic the Gathering, although I'm not really good at that one. I play the Pokemon trading card game, which is a lot of fun and super easy to get into. But my favorite is Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm actually a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I I would say that out of all the card games I play, that's probably the one that I'm best at.
I am much the same. Like, trading card games were fun, especially when I was younger. And the one
Hmm.
I always drifted to was Yu-Gi-Oh! Because, Pokemon has some number play to it, but you
Hmm.
also have to deal with all these different kind of evolutions and whatnot. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Right.
it's pretty simple. You have attack defense stat, you have defense stat.
Yeah.
Attack beats defense, defense beats attack, depending on the numbers. And
Right.
if you want a stronger creature, all you got to do is sacrifice and summon. And
Exactly.
even though that sounds simple, it can be quite hard when you bring in the trap cards and the other kind of magic cards and whatnot. And
Yeah.
well, they used to be called magic cards. Now there's like trap and all these other different kind of
Spells.
spell cards.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. I remember when they were called magic cards. Do you remember that?
Yes, sort
When
of.
they were
I
first?
do.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, I was looking through my old binder
Mhm.
that I keep in my desk of my Yu-Gi-Oh card collection. It's got like a couple hundred cards, and some of them still have magic card on them. So I know that they're
Yeah,
classic originals. They're not in the greatest condition, but it's just
the
fun.
same. I'm much the same. I have a whole collection of Magic Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yes. I
Yes.
actually have a few magic decks myself because I dabbled in magic, but
Hmm.
again, I don't know. Maybe it's just too complicated for me. But I also was
Yeah,
more raised with Yu-Gi-Oh.
same. Like Magic has a lot of resource play, which I'm terrible at managing resources. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just ask my bank account.
Yes.
But but Yu-Gi-Oh to me is fun. It's easy, and the thing I love about it is that anytime you draw a card, you can play that card, provided that you've set it up. With a lot of the other games, it's like, well, do you have enough mana or energy to spend on it? And in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to count to see how much I have before I can spend it on something that I want to do. Oh, that sucks. That's just like real life.
Yeah, it is. And,
Yeah.
the point of a card game is to get away from real life for just a few
Right.
minutes, man.
Yeah, just a few minutes. I wanted to. What's this currency doing in my game of fantasy and magic?
It's true. It's true.
Yes.
So, you've done a few narrations of creepypastas and horror stories. Have you ever experienced something, paranormal? Maybe a
Yes,
cryptid?
actually.
You have.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
No cryptids. But when I was a kid, I was born in a tropical third world country, and let's see, over there, it's not like here in the States. Here in the States, when you go out at night, it's perfectly illuminated. You have street lamps and, all these lights just, creating some kind of ambient illumination where you are. Over there, when you go out in the dark, your high beams are the only reason you can see anything. So I was a kid, and my parents had taken us up to the mountains because we had family that lived there, and driving home was going to be a little bit of a problem because going down the mountains in these winding roads that aren't perfectly illuminated is is a lot of effort. So it took a long time to get home that night. But the thing that happened is on our way home, I started noticing these lights kind of following the car, and your they weren't like the headlights of anything else because this was back in the 90s, back when and also in a third world country, so that the headlights would have this yellowish tint to them, this kind of this very faded yellow glow. But these were these green lights, almost look like LEDs is what I would compare them to. And they were hovering in the sky is the other thing. So, and they would kind of move around in these awkward patterns, just kind of like making figure eights and loop de loops in the sky and all that. And just this very distinct shape. They would always just kind of like these circles in the sky. Um, at the time, I didn't know what to think about it. I was very young. I was probably, gosh, I want to say like 7 or 8. Um, And the thing is, once we're off the mountain road and we're on more, city roads, which aren't any better illuminated over there, but we still have all these lights just kind of following the car. And I remember even whenever we made it back to the house, I could still kind of see them, not as clear as before, but they were there. I don't know what they were. Whenever I look back on it, I kind of imagine that they were UFOs or something like that. But yeah, that's my paranormal experience.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you have any
hmm
others?
That's the one. That's the only one. Thankfully, because even though I tell a lot of horror stories, the paranormal is something that I'm very careful about. I'm like, don't want
hmm
to mess with that.
Or are you like a spiritual kind of guy?
I am.
Okay, that's understandable. I'm somewhat spiritual. I'm also
Mm,
somewhat skeptical too.
yes, a healthy amount of skepticism is always a good thing. I say.
Like, if you tell me that you're walking through your house one night and you saw a ghost come through a wall and then go into another wall, I may
Mm,
believe that, to an extent. I'll ask, like, were you high? Were you
yeah,
drinking? Were you on anything? No?
yeah,
Okay, then that's kind of weird. Were there, like, lights passing by, though? Could it have been your shadow? No? Okay, that's kind of weird. But if you
right.
tell me that you were possessed, I don't want to say that you were possessed by a demon, because, that can be kind of controversial. But
It can be.
if you told me that, like, a ghost came into your room one night and had its way with you or something like that, that's where I kind of like, I'm like,
Now,
I don't
now
know.
that you mention it, in fact, there is a second paranormal thing that I have experienced, and I
Ooh.
honestly had completely forgotten about it until you mentioned possession.
Oh, okay.
Um, I used to go to this church here in my home state, and
Mm-hmm.
I got to witness an alleged exorcism.
Oh. Now, I
Yes,
gotta ask, were there any men wearing a red suit?
no men wearing a red suit.
There were
No,
no cardinals, nothing like that?
no cardinals, nothing like that.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask, what religion?
It's Christian religion. The denomination would be difficult to pin down. It's not Catholic,
Okay.
and the thing is, they never outright stated what they were. So it's a
Hmm.
Christian church. Whenever you go in, they preach out of the Bible and
Right,
whatnot.
right.
This one particular time, what happened was while the preacher is going on about his service, this person started just screaming and just saying all these, these blasphemous things, and then just kind of dropping and convulsing and foaming at the mouth, things like that. And
Whoa.
yeah, it was really something to behold. I had taken a new girlfriend with me at the time, so that was
Oh, God.
I was like, oh Lord. But
That's a
so
good
this
first
starts
date.
happening.
That's a good first
I
date.
know. Oh, it was excellent. And the worst part about it is, so my first language is Spanish.
Okay.
So that's the church is in Spanish, and she had agreed to come simply because it was a Sunday thing. Like, we're gonna do this on Sunday. It's a thing we do with family,
Hmm.
and then afterwards, you and I can go off and do whatever. And she says,
Right.
"Okay, I'm not gonna understand, but I'll go."
Okay.
So so this is
She
happening
doesn't
in
speak Spanish?
no.
Okay,
So
okay.
this is happening in Spanish, and she has no idea what's happening. And on top of that, there's what appears to be an exorcism. The
Ooh.
preacher, who was a guest preacher, which is a large reason why I say that this is an alleged exorcism. I don't know if this was
Yeah.
staged or but he immediately, when this happens, and also I'd never seen this woman in the crowd before, so that's another red
Ooh.
flag to
Yeah,
me.
that's a red flag.
Yeah, so what's it called? He immediately calls out, "Oh, well, somebody escort her up here to the top of the stage. We're gonna deal with this right now." And then he starts talking to the congregation, as in, this is a demon has taken control of this woman, so on and so forth. And then he does a couple of prayers and encourages everyone to pray along. And this is where my skepticism kind of takes like a little bit of a backseat. I'm still almost 100% convinced that this was staged. But a weird thing happened whenever he's saying the prayers. The woman starts contorting in ways that are not the norm, so her arms start moving in this hugely unnatural way, and her body just basically starts convulsing and shifting. And in my head, I'm like, is that possible for a normal person to do? Yes, but I don't know, man. That looked extremely awkward and painful to the point where it's like, maybe, maybe not. Um, Ultimately, what happens is he concludes his prayer, and she falls to the floor and bends in a really unnatural way. There's people in the world that are double jointed, people that can
Mm-hmm.
just kind of do. I mean, you see them in all the time in,
Mm-hmm.
for example, like circus acts and things like that.
Right,
That they
right.
can bend back and forth in really weird ways. So part of me wants to say this person is a really good actress, but when you see it at the time, it's like I don't I don't know, man. That's a that was a really really weird thing to witness. Um, Once it concludes, they escorted her off the stage and into the back, and we never saw her again.
Okay.
So there's a lot here where it's like I saw an exorcism, I guess.
I
It
guess.
might have been, yeah, it might have been just a really really good act put together, a really great show. I don't know. It's up in the air, and part of me just wants to say it was an act. It makes me feel comfortable to tell myself it was an act. Maybe, you know.
So, okay. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I don't have trouble believing you. I have trouble believing what happened, like
Yeah,
between the priest and the lady.
agreed.
Because there's a few red flags. It was a guest preacher.
Right,
That's a red flag, especially when you have a lady come up who has never been to your congregation before, ever.
right.
And the one time they have a guest speaker, there's a possession.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? That's
Yes,
that's a bit of a red flag. And you are right. There are people in the world that are double jointed, and there are people in the
yes.
world that can bend in really unnatural ways. Like if you watch the video for Thunder by Imagine Dragons, they have a contortionist on in the video, and
I
she's
love
able to
Imagine Dragons.
what?
I love Imagine
Oh
Dragons.
man, so you probably know which video I'm talking about, right?
I know the exact one. Yes.
Yeah, she bends herself backwards all the way to the ground, and it's like
Mhm.
that's
And
crazy.
it's what happened on the stage too.
Huh?
Whenever the prayer finished, I mean, she bent like all the way back to the point where I'm thinking to myself, that's gotta that a human back shouldn't be able to do that. But the thing is, you see it all the time,
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I
as
mean, maybe see if it was like a real exorcism, if there was really a possession, I think it would have been handled differently because technically
I agree.
you need someone from like isn't it for like a I'm not like too deep into how these exorcisms are supposed to go, but aren't they supposed to like get a hold of the Vatican and then get like a solidified cardinal there to do it or to be present
If
for it?
if you're Catholic, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of the other denominations would handle that.
Okay. Okay.
Which is kind of why, at the same time, I kind of pictured the same thing. Every time I picture an exorcism, immediately where my mind goes to is the movie The Exorcist. You got the guy in the black robes with the I don't know what they call those collars that they put over their shoulders, but those. And they got their rosaries, they got a whole kit, and it's handled in a very specific manner. And here is this guy in a regular suit and tie, and he gets two people from his crew to grab this woman and escort her on stage, and then just kind of do this exorcism. So it doesn't fit the mold of what I have in mind whenever I'm thinking of an exorcism.
Yeah, because usually with
Which
an
is a lot of the
exorcism,
reason why.
they pin them to a chair. Like they pin them to a chair, and they have like very specific prayers they're supposed to say, and they're supposed to
Right.
be like dropping holy water on them, and having a cross available and whatnot, not just
Mhm.
simply putting her up on the stage and then preaching at her. prayers.
Additionally, I wouldn't have imagined that somebody possessed would have been able to enter a church. I thought that hallowed ground was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're
Yeah,
not even supposed to be able to enter a church because it's, like you said, it's
right.
hallowed ground. It's supposed to be holy.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so that raises some red flags. I mean, I wasn't there, and I can't say that what you saw wasn't real. It's just
right.
there's a few red flags, and I'm not trying to be
Uh,
disrespectful, my man. I'm just
no, of course not. I'm right there with you. I mean, like I said, I called myself out on a lot of these things also because in my head it's like, I don't know, something here doesn't feel right. But at the same time, it's like maybe I don't know. Yeah, it's up in the air. Usually, when I tell the story, it's often with like the same amount of skepticism that you're bringing here. It's always like it feels like it was a show,
yeah.
But
It seems very show like the setup from what you're
right.
explaining.
Mhm.
It seems like there's a bit of a setup there because it was the one time you had a guest
Right.
speaker, and it's like the one person that's never been there before just happens to be possessed, and it happens to be only starting when he's preaching, which
Right.
most demons that possess people in the past, from what we do know about, I'm gonna say possible possession, because there's
Right.
never been like concrete proof that possession happens. There's stories, there are witnesses. Even the Vatican has many stories of people being possessed, but
Right.
a lot of those stories are also back when we didn't understand mental illness. To be
True.
fair.
Very true.
But
Yeah.
I'm not going to discredit what's been experienced or what's been written in the past, because I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
a religious man. I haven't seen a possession for myself, but I feel like there's some weird things with what happened, what you witnessed. But I gotta ask. I have one overarching question.
All right. Let's hear
What happened with the girlfriend? How did she take
it.
it?
Well, she hung around for a long, long time after. So,
Okay,
if
good.
anything, I don't think that it was a deal breaker.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it wasn't a deal breaker for you.
Yes.
So where are you
Uh,
from? You said you're in your native country. Are you from like I don't know. I'm gonna take a guess here, a random guess
uh,
from anywhere. Are you from
okay.
like Portugal, maybe?
Nope. Nope.
No.
I'm actually from Honduras.
Oh, Honduras. What's that like?
hmm It's it's nice where it's nice, and in the places that it's not nice.
Okay, that's a very good description. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's
when did you move to the States? When did you?
oh man, I was like 9 years old at the time, so this would have been like in the '90s.
Okay, so this
In
was a
like,
while ago. You were pretty young.
oh
Then.
yeah,
Okay.
I've lived here a majority of my life, so I've been here. Gosh, I want to say like in the neighborhood of 25, 26 years now.
Can I ask what brought your family here?
The places that were not nice, mostly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's enough of an explanation.
Yes.
But it's actually kind of cool. Like in your voice, when you narrate, it's very
mm,
hard to tell you have like any kind of. It's hard to tell that you're from another country. I mean,
yeah.
earlier when you were telling your story, it kind of came out like a little bit, that little bit of accent, but it wasn't like so thick. I could tell. I had to like listen.
Right, and I'm told that I have an accent sometimes. A lot of the absence of it, I say, would be attributed to the fact that I learned English so young. You know, gosh, I would have been like 9 years old at the time, so I've spoken English a majority of my life.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where now, when I speak Spanish, my Spanish sounds wrong. I'm told by family that it's like you don't speak it right. Something's off, and in my head, I'm just saying the things that I learned. But I guess if anything, I have an accent in Spanish now, but a very slight one in English instead.
So oh man, this brings up so many questions. Have you ever experienced something like a ghost besides the green headlights?
No,
No. Oh man.
nope.
I don't want to say you're lucky, because it's quite the experience to
Mm.
experience the paranormal. Like a ghost or a
Yes.
spirit. It is quite the
Mhm.
experience, and it's an experience unlike any other.
Mhm.
But at the same time, not experiencing it is also very nice. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie
for
to you.
sure. I mean, I'm sure that people who are experiencing the paranormal at the time they're experiencing it don't count themselves lucky.
Yes.
Yes.
as someone who has experienced it a few times, but is still a very hard skeptic.
Right.
It's such a feeling. Like my latest one happened when I was trying to get my son to sleep, and I stared at it, and like I had a feeling come over me, not of anger, not of being scared, but actually of just protectiveness. Like I wanted to protect my son from whatever this spirit was.
Right.
And I've talked openly about it on a few of my other episodes about what happened, but like that's one story. I have like 30 stories of paranormal stuff just from where I was growing, just between the ages of 10 and now of 25, 15 years.
Yeah.
I have had so many experiences, and it's crazy. Like,
yeah,
I could write a book, but I will never.
You should write a book. I'd be interested in hearing about all the paranormal experiences.
Oh, you say that. You say that. No, I'll never write a book though. Not on my own experience. Maybe I'll tell someone what happened and they can write the book, but I won't write the book. I don't have the time for that. I guess I got another weird one. Like, I mean, it may be explainable, and I haven't told this one publicly yet. So
sure, let's hear it.
All right, so it's a bit weird. So there was a day where my wife and I woke up, and our usual thing where we used to live was to get up and drive 10, 15 minutes to our local Dunkin' Donuts and get coffee and maybe something for breakfast, depending on if we were feeling hungry or not. And before we left, we made up the bed, made it look nice, like you're supposed to. And we left. We locked the doors. We made sure all the windows were shut, locked. Because I'm very, like, someone tried to break into the house I grew up in when I was younger. So now I make sure to lock everything.
That's a wise idea.
Especially for leaving. Like, I lock everything. Yes. But, so we left, right? Our bed was nicely made up when we left. There was nothing on it. I need to say this now. There was nothing on it. We didn't have any bedside tables. Our room was very clean. Like, we took care of our room. But when we got home, on the bed in perfect symmetry with each other was a dryer sheet and a nail. Sitting side by side on the bed perfectly. Like, perfectly. It wasn't just placed there. It was placed there and, like, made to look neat.
Oh, that's so weird.
It is a little weird.
That's so weird.
It is. Like, and there's no way anyone could get in. The only door was locked. All the windows were locked. Me and my wife were the only ones with the keys, and we were home together. And I left the house last. And she was already out in the car, and I know I didn't do it. Because, like, I'm not going to put just a random nail in a dryer sheet on our nice bed. Like, I wouldn't do that. That's kind of weird. But
yeah,
when we were driving in to, when we got back, when we were driving in, I thought I saw someone standing in the house. Like, I saw a black human-shaped shadow in the house. And I look at my wife, and I'm like, honey, stay out here. She's like, why? And I'm like, because I think I see someone in the house. So I go up to the door. It's still locked. It's still locked. And so I go in. There's no one there. No one was in there. There's no... This is winter, by the way. So if they were in there with shoes on, I would see the snow and the melted ice, right? There was no one in there. Nobody in there. And then when I went to go check the bedroom, or actually I went to the farthest part of the house, because this was a trailer. So I went to the farthest part of the bedrooms, which were empty. Nothing in there. No evidence of anyone ever being in there except for us. Then I go into our bedroom, and that's when I find the dryer sheet and nail. And I'm like, what the hell?
That is so weird.
Right?
I don't know, man. At the shadow, at the human-shaped shadow, I would have been like, nope, I'm out.
I'm a brave guy. I grew up with ghosts, man. They don't scare me anymore. They're just kind of, it's just it's weird. It's never like exciting. Oh, I got to see a ghost. No, it's very, I saw a ghost. I mean, maybe
it's almost like saying, "Oh my gosh, I saw a vulture the other day." It's like it's not something you see every day, but oh my gosh,
right? But with a ghost, there's never that excitement. Maybe unless you're Zach Bagans from the Ghost Adventures, there's never really that like excitement of, "Oh, I saw a ghost." It's never there. You're always just kind of like, "Oh boy, I saw a ghost." I don't know how to feel, because you feel like you're crazy. especially when you tell
Yes,
people.
I believe it. Yeah, no, 100%.
So, do you have many more creepypastas coming our way for your channel? I'm really excited to hear what you have.
Yeah, of course. So I work with a lot of great authors. Like the a majority of my content is stuff that I find on Reddit, and that I ask the author for their permission to put up there. There's some authors that have a lot of works, and usually I'll read through their entire library if I can, and ask for multiple permissions at the same time. Especially if I'm a huge fan. Um, and authors, in my experience, are just the nicest people ever. They write these stories because they love the fiction, and whenever somebody comes along and just shares in their love for it, they're just completely open to just spreading the love for it as much as they can. So I have a couple of authors that I've asked for their permission on multiple stories, and all of those are in the works. As far as stuff that I personally write, recently I used one of my own stories at a collab with Possessed Radio, so they'll be premiering one of my personally written fictions, and soon after that, I'll let it air on their collab first, and usually like within 2-3 months, I'll post it on my channel also. Additionally, my first long running story, which was in the neighborhood of 25 minutes or so, um, will be getting a sequel. It was extremely well received. I wrote it in one night, and people just have told me over and over again, this is a really fun story. It's completely not like any of the other creepypastas that we normally hear, and we'd love to hear what happens next. So I'm working on a sequel to that one. That would be The Exorcist, which is the story about the guy who can punch ghosts.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember watching that video. Oh, I'm excited to
Hmm.
see a sequel. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So yeah, there's plenty in the works, and additionally, this is a huge collab that's happening. But the Scary Stories for the Rain, he and I were in an interview together. Where we both were guest narrators, and we just kind of developed this whole weirdness with a story about a corn monster back at that time. And ever since, people have just kind of come back and forth, be like, hey, when are we going to hear the story about the corn monster? Hey, how's the story about the corn monster coming along? And we always kind of like just kind of shrugged it off, like, oh yeah, we're working on it. Until recently, where the Scary Stormy just said, you know what, I'm starting this story, and I want as many people involved as possible, and we're going to make this a huge thing. Serafin and Scary Stormy, the corn monster story. Here it is at long last. So that's
Hmm.
something that's in the works too.
Okay, okay. That's exciting,
Hmm.
man. That's so exciting. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Particularly, I always have a lot of fun working with as many people as possible. This community is filled with a lot of really creative folk and people that are extremely talented. So anytime that you can get to work on something this huge with as many of the
Hmm.
talents that are just here, it's a fun time.
Yeah, and, I've seen you, like, doing a lot with other people. Like, you've been on 242's,
Hmm.
stream. You've been on, I think you were on The Darkness. I think you've been a little bit of everywhere, man. Like, I can't even name all the places. But,
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta say, 242 and Raven and MCT and all, they're all amazing people. Like, the horror
Oh yeah.
community, narration community is quite amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And speaking of, I wanted to ask you something. What happened with Jeff Mara?
Oh, Jeff? Oh, okay. So, give a
Uh
little backstory. Back in, like, February, I
huh.
went on his channel as an interviewee,
Hmm.
and um, I was interviewed about my near-death experience.
Oh.
And, and, well, I was supposed to interview him yesterday, okay?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And I was looking into his channel and I realized, wait a minute, he's got 7 channels.
Oh, holy cow.
And one of them is number 2 on YouTube for kids.
What?
Yeah, it's got 539,000 subscribers. It's a kids channel. And it's the second biggest in YouTube. And then...
That's,
Wait, was that one? Oh, no, maybe it was his other one. He has another one, which has 1.1 million subscribers. And that's the number 2 on YouTube. And then he's got a third one, the Mara Kids or whatever. I can't remember the name of it. Mm-hmm. And that one's got 539,000. And then he's got another one that has like 8,000. Another one that has 7,000. And I'm going down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh my lord, we would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, no kidding. That's incredible.
We rescheduled it for later on this month, which was great.
Okay.
Which is good because I'm actually going to look it up right now live. Because I was on his show called the Jeff Mara Podcast, right? And then I'm going to his channels, and I realized he is the owner of the Happy Family 1004 channel, which has 1.1 million subscribers, and it has to do with Nerf guns, right?
Yes.
Then he's the owner of the Jeff Mara channel, which is our number 2 channel, Happy Family 1004. There is his number 2 channel, and that is one of the biggest ones on YouTube with 1.1 million. This one, Jeff Mara, has 539,000.
Mm.
And then his other channel has 7.94 thousand. Another channel has 3.81 thousand. And, another one of his channels has 495 subs. Another one of his has 3.64. And another one of his has 181. And then his main one has 6.95 thousand.
That's massive.
Bro, he is huge. He is fucking huge. And I did not realize how big of a channel, big of a guy on YouTube he was. Because I thought he just had the one show, the Jeff Mara Podcast. But no.
Right.
No, he's got a whole lot. And I'm like, wow. And so it gives me a little bit more time to prepare myself for that podcast episode with him. But man, I did not realize who I would be talking to at all.
Yeah. You're going to have some extra time to take some notes, I guess.
Oh, man, so many.
All this stuff you got to talk about now.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, so much to talk about. And I'm going to love it, though.
Yeah.
I don't really care about channel size, but I'm just excited to talk to him in a different way because it was great to be interviewed by him. It was so fun. It was so fun. But it's going to be exciting to just talk to him like this,
Yeah.
But man, like, oh man, my eyes like grew wide. I was talking to Raven while I did it. I'm like, hey man, I think he's bigger than I thought. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, he's got one channel with 1.1 million subscribers. And it's just like, whoa. But that's what happened is he got busy.
That's exciting though.
And it is. I'm super excited to talk to him. I actually really enjoyed talking to him. Him and I have had a few chats on Facebook. So that's where you can, that's the best way to reach out to him, to be on his podcast. And there's been talks about bringing me back on. But no, I'm excited to talk to him, but I did not realize how big of a YouTuber he really is.
Oh, man.
And apparently he's the creator of the first super giant egg or whatever, like pinata egg, gift egg or whatever. And I'm like, wow. Like, he's got some marks on his belt. He's got some notches, bro.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible, though, man. I find it hard to picture, managing one channel to be over 1 million subs, but to manage several, that's wow.
Yes, and one of them being 1.1 million subs. That one. And then he's got his Jeff Mara podcast, which he uploads almost daily.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, boy, he must live at his computer, though. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm sure he doesn't, but man, bro. I did not realize I'm going to be interviewing, well, I don't know, like chatting with such a big YouTuber. I'm excited, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get some good subscribers from it.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I would hope so. Also.
Actually, I thought I'd gain more after the Swamp Dweller episode, but I really haven't
Mm.
gained that many. I've only gained I think less than 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's not terrible.
no, but it got almost 500 views in the first day. I mean, right now it's sitting at. What is it sitting at? Can't remember. It is sitting at. I just looked it up. It says 419 on my videos, but when I actually go to the video itself, it's higher. So I don't know which one. Let's see. It has it's 419, which is weird because it was 495 this morning. Not even joking. I checked it this morning.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, still though. I got I was at 127, I'm at 133. That's 7 subscribers from that interview. I'm a little surprised. I thought I'd gain more, but it's not a big deal. I'm just happy I was able to interview him because he's an idol of mine, and I've been watching him for years now. Yeah, no, it was a great time.
Yeah, everyone has great things to say about Swamp Dweller. I look forward to meeting him at some point.
Oh man, you will, and he is so funny. He is so funny, and I mean, we talked a good 20, 30 minutes on just his stories because he has so many fascinating experiences with the paranormal. And he's got one about a cryptid, and it was interesting to hear. Yeah. But what have you been up to? What do you do in your free time, my man?
On my free time, whatever little free time I have, I mean, anything I can, really. I do enjoy, like I mentioned, I enjoy being active. So a lot of the times, if I can, I don't know, go bicycling, if I can just go for a walk, I take my dog for walks as much as I can. Yeah, it used to be the case that I was a huge gym goer a long time ago. And health concerns made it so that I couldn't do that as much.
Ooh.
So, I try to stay active in whatever way that I can. Used to be really big into martial arts back in the day, too. Can't do that anymore either. But
wow. What martial arts did you do?
I trained in Northern Shaolin Kung Fu.
Ooh.
For a long time in my teens. Until I went off to college. When I went to college, I got into Korean Hapkido.
Okay.
Which was a lot of fun. And ever since then, little things here and there. I learned a little Krav Maga somewhere. I keep thinking to myself, eventually I would like to learn a grappling art like jiu-jitsu. But since a lot of my resume in martial arts is striking arts, I feel like I'm going to be extremely out of my depth in that one. So,
well, I mean, it never hurts to become well-rounded, though.
For sure, yeah. And it's the reason that I wanna get into it. But it's a little hard to learn a contact art that you're that close to somebody in the middle of the situation that we got going on right now in the world.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
When I was a little bit younger, the first martial art I did it at 19, and it was Taekwondo.
Nice.
Which was fun. I learned a lot about about good footwork. And
yes.
Then I went into karate, and then from there I did a little bit of wrestling. I did some boxing. Oh,
cool.
I did some jiu-jitsu. And it was quite fun to learn all these different things. And it can be quite helpful in the right situation, but it's been years, and due to my own health concerns, I can't do it anymore, unfortunately. Or at least not as hardcore as I did. I know that when my son gets older, I'm gonna make sure he at least tries, something. Because it's good to know how to defend yourself from
for sure
anybody.
I agree. And, even barring the worst case scenario, which is where you have to use it to defend yourself, just the health benefits alone, from doing the exercise required to get good at a martial art,
Yes. And that's my problem. I can't exercise anymore. And that's the unfortunate part.
No, that sucks, man.
I used to be a gym goer myself as well. But again, same health concern. Eliminated that.
Yeah.
And it's really rough, because I like to exercise, but I can't. I physically can't. And it's
yeah, same.
It's depressing.
it was my goal to end up looking like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That's what I was working towards.
Bro, I
uh,
was too.
yeah, didn't make it. I'm afraid. Like about a year ago, I had like a really mild heart attack, which it's like, oh, yeah,
Oh.
you gotta be careful with how far you exert yourself now, because most of the time, if I'm chilling, no problem. But a lot of the times, if my blood starts pumping a little extra, I can actually feel my heart beating hard. I can feel it rocking my body a little bit.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like, so I kind of have. It's a good thing that I'm a very laid back person. Otherwise,
Yeah.
this would be an issue.
I have chronic asthma, and it's
Oh
pretty
no.
severe. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even supposed to drink, like, because that's how it's so easily exacerbated that, like,
Right.
I'm not even supposed to drink because the burn of the alcohol and the way it affects your breathing when you get drunk and whatnot can cause me to
Right.
go into an asthma attack.
Mhm.
And the medicine I take helps to keep my lungs open, but if I have an asthma attack, I'm much more likely to not make it through, if you know what I mean.
I understand.
So
Yeah.
even with this medicine making it possible to breathe and do light runs or whatever, I still don't push it because if the one time I have an asthma attack would be the last time I have an asthma
Uh,
attack.
yeah, man, that must be terrifying.
Oh, it is, and it's also
Yeah.
why I can't do martial arts and why I can't do anything because I can't get hit in the chest. I can't have any
Yeah.
kind of pressure on my chest. Can't, I can't exercise to the point of sweating anymore.
Mm.
It's rough. It's a life changer, especially when you're only 25 years old and you're so
Yeah.
young that you are. This is the age where your potential is supposed to shine through in your body. Like that's when your body is at its peak. That's when you're supposed to be able to exercise the most and be able to get the most muscle gain and strength gain. And I can't do that.
Right. That sucks, man.
Oh, it does. And I can't
Yeah.
exercise the lungs because it's so much pressure and it just messes with my breathing so bad that I can't actually get any exercise in them by the time I have trouble breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel your
And
pain.
yeah, I was about to say I'm right there with you too, man. Because in my head, I'm like, hey, you know what? 34 is no time to be having a heart attack. That's a 60, 70-year-old person problem. So
Yes.
um,
Yes.
I'm sitting here like, oh well, this is awkward.
Hey, but everyone's got some kind of, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have issues with their bodies that is
Yeah.
beyond our control. All we can do is live with it best we can.
Yeah, I want to say yes, beyond our control. This one, I'm like, yeah, this was a stress-induced thing. I had a job which was absolutely terrible,
Ooh.
and yeah, my hours were awful to the point where I was chugging energy drinks. Like I want to say, I was drinking them the same way that most people would drink a soda. Just
Oh, wow.
because. Yeah, so a lot of the time I think back and I'm like, you know what? I had complete control over this issue and I handled it terribly.
Yeah, but while energy drinks can affect the heart, there's got to be,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if there's maybe something else a little bit deeper going on that maybe wasn't found. But it still sucks
Yeah.
all the same because that one heart attack causes so much permanent damage that it increases. Doesn't I'm not sure, but doesn't it increase your risk of another one at some point if you push yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
man, I am still
So that,
sorry though. That's rough.
yeah, it's something that I think about constantly. Like especially whenever I start feeling it beating a little weird, I'll just I have to sit down and think to myself, oh my god, is this the day?
Oh my god, man. Oh my god, is this today? All I did was pick
Yeah,
up
I
a heavy
know.
object. What?
Oh man. Oh, the procedure like that takes place after that's the worst because it's like, okay, so we're about to do this and it's going to be extremely terrible. We're going to hook you up to some anesthetics, but here's the thing: we need you to be awake while we're doing it. So,
Oh.
uh,
Did they do a pick line?
I don't know what it's called. They called it, jeez, I don't know. It's this thing where basically they went in through an artery in my leg and just kind of like ran this line all the way into my heart.
Yeah, that's a pick line. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man, that is the worst. My best friend has had a pick line. He's only like
ooh,
30 and
yeah,
31.
dude, those suck.
Oh, bro, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
The worst part about it is, they give you like about gosh, like about an hour before they go through with it, where they make sure that that they put the anesthetic in you and that you're supposed to be completely ready for this. But here's the thing: everybody reacts differently to anesthetics, you know. So whenever it starts happening for me, I was like, "Oh, I still feel all of that. That sucks." So it ends up happening that they went about 15 minutes before I stopped feeling everything. So about 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Oh, that sucks. And you know,
Oh,
I'm trying to like not move because the first little movement that I did, the guy doing the procedure goes, okay, we're inside your artery right now. We're gonna need you to not move. I'm like, oh,
oh,
this sucks, man.
jeez. And it's scary because you know you cannot move. You know it,
Yeah,
and you're just like you want to move. You're just like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, and you know you're
yeah,
just so scared they're gonna nick something, and you're just gonna like jump, and then you're
yeah.
screwed.
So whenever I finally stopped feeling everything, oh, that was the happiest moment in my life because I'm like, oh, great, now I can relax.
Oh man, oh
Oh, that
boy,
was terrible.
that is
You
scary.
know, it is scary. It's incredibly scary, and the days following are uh, just kind of a weird time because they said for 3 days you're going to need to not lift anything heavier than 30 pounds. You know, and
Oh
you're going to
jeez.
need to keep weight off of the leg where we went in through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I had to ask the question. Well, I live on the second floor in a complex that doesn't have any elevators. So, and they're like, well, you can't go up those stairs. So I had to find I had to find a way to stay with family where it was like, hey, I'm gonna need you to just keep me in your living room for a couple of days until I can finally go up the stairs to my apartment. Also, I'm gonna need somebody to go into my apartment and get my dog.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I hope your family was at least pretty, nice and get,
Oh no, they were perfect. They
that's
were
good.
great. I
That's
mean,
good.
what's it called? They had somebody come get me because I wasn't going to be able to drive, which is not something that I knew either. So they had somebody come get me. They took me right to their place. Somebody went and got my dog. They got changes of clothes for me, and for 3 days I was just taking it easy. It was actually pretty good.
Well, I mean, at least
But
you got 3 days of relaxation, though.
yeah, for sure. You know.
Where do you reside now? Like in the States, where do you reside?
Oh, I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas. Everybody's in Texas. What is it about
Really?
Texas? Yeah.
I find it so weird because you know I feel like I know people who are in Texas, you know, like here in the community and all that, but I don't interact with them nearly as much as everyone else who's in really weird time zones, you know. So, uh,
It's true. I find that a lot of the people in my own time zone often I don't interact with as much as others in other time zones.
yeah,
Like Raven's an hour behind me, and
hmm
him and I talk all the time. But a couple other people are in my time zone, and I barely talk to them. It's like
yeah.
oof. Oh man.
It gets especially interesting whenever you're dealing with people who are in the opposite side of the world. Like
Oh yeah.
I do a daily, or I'm sorry, a weekly show with Idiotic Synergy, and he's over in Europe. So we've had the situation come up where I thought to myself, okay, well, I'll call him here in this amount of time. You know that'll still be early enough. And then later on, I find out that it's like 2 a.m. where he's at, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I blew that. Ouch. And
Oh.
with Miss Creepy Tails things, Miss Creepy Tails also because she's on the other side of the world too. So
Hmm.
it gets really weird. You know, you interact with these people and you're thinking to yourself, it's 11 a.m. You know, it's early over here, and for them, it's the dead of night. So
Yes. Yes. Do you plan on doing like true scary stories at some point or anything like that?
it's something that I've considered, simply because I'm really huge into true crime. That's a majority of my YouTube watch list is true crime documentaries, and
Okay.
my entire Netflix queue and my Hulu queue and all that is just true crime documentaries. with a little ancient aliens thrown in just because, just for flavor.
Ooh, actually, that's a perfect segue. I was going to ask, aliens,
Mhm.
what do you believe?
Real.
Okay. Okay, why?
Well, mostly because if the universe is as huge as they say it is, it's really hard for me to concretely believe that there isn't some form of life out there. Now, whether it's the way that we picture it, maybe not. It could be something as like, there's a planet out there filled with canine creatures, like, what we've grown to think about as dogs,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not precisely what we were imagining. But I do believe there's life out there, alien life. Although I do have to throw this in there, the whole UFO disclosure that happened with the Army and all that, where
With the U.S.
they've
Navy?
actually, yeah, with the U.S. Navy, where they came out and said, "Oh no, yeah, they exist. We just have no idea what it is." Uh, that really puts just kind of this huge. I don't want to say it's like a fear. It's excitement. It's curiosity. It's
Do you believe
just
them, though? Come on, you can't believe them.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that they wouldn't tell us, and for a variety of different reasons.
Well, yeah, because
I do feel.
if the majority of people knew that aliens existed for real,
Mm, mhm.
it would completely destroy a lot of what our world is based around, and that's religion. And actually, Swamp and I were talking about this on our episode the other day or yesterday,
Mm,
or yeah, yesterday. Time of this recording is
mhm.
yesterday. Yeah. Um, it would completely throw everything we know into dismay and chaos.
Maybe I don't know that it would be so chaotic though. I mean, the thing is, yes, we have a lot of spiritual beliefs that circulate in our world. I don't believe that the existence of aliens would in any way throw that by the wayside. I do believe that they probably would have to go into a period where they would have to kind of ask themselves some hard questions about how their beliefs line up with the existence of things outside of our world. But by and large, I think that the existence of aliens would be a lot like the meeting of two different civilizations as they did back in the old world,
I
So the
agree.
Spaniards came over.
I agree, but here's the other thing we got to think about. You have
Hmm.
those enthusiasts that already believe that aliens exist and have been to Earth, obviously. But
Hmm.
then you'd have them be like, I want to meet an alien. How do we meet an alien? They would try to find ways to coax, UFOs
That
and aliens to appear. And I think people would I think there would be a group of people, a good
mm,
population of people that would be like scared out of their minds because we don't know what could happen. We don't
yeah,
know if they could
and
just come here one day and kill us all, or take over or whatnot. Because there's so
that's
many
definitely something to
uncertainties.
think about.
But the thing is, though, is I also know that the U.S. government, oh God, the U.S. government always knows more than what they say. So the fact that they even
Yeah.
came out and said UFOs are real, they've been around, we've been seeing them. Everything you've been seeing since the 50s, the 40s, and in ancient history is true. They are real.
Hmm.
They've been here for much longer than we have, and we don't know who's piloting them. Is kind of BS. They have to have an idea. They said in that same thing. Yeah, we know they're not made here on Earth. They can travel to any planet they want in a fraction of the time we could ever even dream of. Their
Hmm.
technology and aviation ability is beyond anything of our comprehension, and we also know that they're not piloted by anything or anyone on Earth. So
Hmm.
then that kind of opens up like, well, then who is piloting them? And they say they don't know. That's kind of BS. They have to know. They have to have an idea because they pretty much
Yeah.
came out and said it's aliens without saying it's aliens.
Like, how do you know it's aliens if you don't know who, because you're throwing a lot of things that you're saying but not telling us how like,
Right. Because I mean, they
right.
said we know that it's not humans piloting them. Well, then what is?
Hmm.
Well, it's not
Right.
aliens. They don't exist. What do you mean? You just said that it's not driven by anyone on Earth. So
Hmm.
it's like they're very contradictory in that statement. They did not plan out that statement too well. That disclosure, they didn't. They just said, well,
Yeah.
it's time that they knew. All right, great, let's tell them. But wait, what about the aliens? we can't mention the aliens, well then we do our best to just give them the truth without giving them the entire truth.
Right.
But no, I mean,
Ah,
I'm with you though. I do believe that it's impossible. It is logistically impossible for us to be the only planet in the entire universe out of all the out of all the, I can't say universes, there's only one universe, but of all these solar systems in the galaxy, in which, remember, the Hubble telescope, put out that one picture with like 200 million different solar systems in it.
right.
And our
Yes.
closest one is the Andromeda Galaxy.
Right.
And
Now,
then, with that information, how can anyone know that we are the only planet in any galaxy to have life on it? That's bullshit.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
so I mean, even if it's not the life that we expect, there's life out there. There's
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
be.
I
Heck,
mean,
we're finding what's it called, remnants of life on Mars. And it's bacterial, but bacterial life is still alien life.
It is. It is absolutely alien life. And they know they can't bring it here because it could cause so much destruction. And,
Yeah.
we know that there's, bodies of water on Mercury.
Yes.
That are made of methane.
On Mercury. Oh my God.
That are made of pure methane. It's pure
Mhm.
liquid methane. How do we know there's nothing living in that? How do we know that a
Right.
bacteria or an organism did not grow and thrive in that? Because we know on Earth
Yeah.
that it kills everything it comes in contact with. Yeah, but that's Earth. Earth's gravitational forces, Earth's atmosphere causes Mercury here on Earth to be such a dangerous substance. But who's to say that isn't how it is on Mercury? How do we
Right.
know there aren't
And
giant creatures living in that mercury water or that methane water?
Exactly, and that's something that I always bring up too. Is that a lot of the times they'll say, "Well, these planets are Earth-like, so they could carry life, but these planets are not Earth-like, so they couldn't." And I'm like, "Well, you say that under the presumption that things could develop differently, so that they could survive in that. You're making this under the assumption of finding another carbon-based life form. What if it's not carbon-based?
Exactly.
What if it's something completely different? Now we're opening up the world of possibilities for a bunch of different stuff.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
And, that's the problem with
so
human perception. And again, that's what Swamp Troll and I were talking about. We've created this entire system of knowing that life has to be carbon based to thrive. But that's based
right,
on our perception of what we have experienced and what we know of on our planet. We don't know
right.
everything about other planets. Like, we just barely got to Mars. Just barely finally
I
got
know.
to. We have had probes on Mars, we've had different flybys of Mars, but we finally just got a decent rover on Mars. We just barely got a probe on Mars. And, just in the Mars photographs, there's been many things caught that don't make sense. There was a statue caught. There was a creature, like a weird looking creature standing on a cliff face. That was
Weird.
caught. There was the crab, the Mars crab. You remember that?
No, I didn't see that
Oh,
Mars crab at all.
Oh, there's a picture of like this crab-looking creature on Mars on a wall. But the
Oh,
government
weird.
tried to outplay it by saying it was like some kind of, I don't know if they said it was a rock or some kind of problem with the picture. But
Mm,
come on, man, come on,
yeah,
come on,
really.
dude. And like there was one picture where it looked like there was a skull on the ground in the dirt. So
Yeah, the face of Mars, that one.
no, it looked like an actual like bone, like a skull bone popping up partly out of the ground.
Oh, very weird.
Yeah, and so that makes you wonder, like, come on. We've always like a lot of ancient texts say that the aliens that they met with came from Mars. So who's to say they still aren't on Mars?
Oh,
Underground.
did you see that one what's it called, document that was disclosed from, I don't remember what organization it was. It was a government organization, but it was something that stated that Nikola Tesla wasn't born on Earth.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
But that makes you wonder.
I don't. Yes, it does. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember looking at that and thinking to myself, "Oh man, this is weird."
I bet you 10-1 there are aliens on Earth right now, but because they look so much like humans and they are
Mhm.
built so much, like at least this species of alien are built and look so much like humans that they can blend in.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Like, I bet you 10-1 you've already passed an alien in your daily life and didn't realize it. And they're not
Probably
going to
true.
come out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm from a different planet." They're
Right.
going to hide that shit as hard as best as they fucking can because they do not want you to know.
Agreed. And I don't know why the reasons would be that they don't want you to know. Maybe it's because of the whole, hey, this could unhinge civilization completely. but there's reasons they don't want you to know, and well, a lot of it could also be attributed to people being people.
Well, think about
It's
it.
real.
You
Yeah.
know, the average human, if they saw something like alien technology, they would lose their fucking minds because they could not handle the concept alone. The concept alone, let alone what they're actually seeing. And it would.
There's actually not this theory that I have that a lot of the technology that we have these days is probably alien. In
Come on, dude.
how would I say? Yeah,
The
like
50s
there's
were,
some things that we discovered and we discovered really quickly, like right after the other. Where I'm like,
I mean, come on, man.
I don't know, man.
There's
Been some.
Think about the tens, the 1910s, the 1900s, and the 1850s. We were doing everything with coal power, and now look at us.
Right.
We're doing everything with
Exactly.
steam power. We're doing everything with different kinds of technologies that we would have had to have made a major discovery at some point on this planet that no one knows about, apparently, to be able to have the technology we have.
Right.
So either we all became very smart very quick, or we know, or there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Right. And that's something that I think about all the time, like not to discredit the human intelligence because, humans are really smart and really resourceful and whatnot. But there's a lot of things where I'm like, there's clearly something's been enabling our progress. There's a lot of progress that happened that doesn't make any sense unless you start taking into account other things,
Let's think about something like this, right? 1959 or 49, I can't remember. It's one with the ends of the 9. We had the Roswell incident, right? When a UFO crashed in Roswell. And if you think about the technology we had before then to what we had to just after that, 10 years later, we discovered Velcro, right? We discovered Velcro technology. But for many years prior to that, there was no such thing as Velcro technology. And if you think about like our exponential growth since the Roswell incident, it's got to be something. They definitely recovered something from that crash. They had to have.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, like, just going back to Roswell, like you mentioned. I mean, if you were to tell somebody back in those days the technology that we have right this second, where anywhere in the world, I mean, I could reach out to anyone in the world from the comfort of my own home.
From the little thing in your pocket.
From the thing in my pocket, which is more powerful than the shuttle that took us to the moon, right?
Yeah, in 69, yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to tell people back then the things that we can do right now, it would blow their minds,
Dude, they'd go crazy. They'd go nuts because they'd kill you. They would kill you and take your technology. There's no doubt about that. But
it's like the witch, kill him.
Yeah,
hell, you would look like the alien. If you ended up back then and you pulled the phone out of your pocket, that looks like such futuristic like nonsense to them. They'd be like, "Yeah, you're clearly not from this world. It's impossible. In this world, these things aren't normal."
Right.
So,
and, there's a lot of questions up in the air about different things. But like the Roswell incident, they came out the next day and said that a UFO crashed, and then a day later they're like, "Oh no, it was a hot weather balloon."
Right.
What? Aluminum was not discovered until after the Roswell crash.
Yeah.
They had so much time before that to discover aluminum, but they discovered it after the Roswell crash? Come on, man. Come on. And there was a guy who came out on a documentary and said that he found Velcro technology 10 years before it was even fully announced. Because he went to the Roswell crash site and he dug around and he found Velcro technology. He had it sent into scientists 10 years prior to the official discovery of Velcro. So, come on. That Roswell crash was the catalyst to a lot of what we have now. It had to have been. Because that was the day that a UFO made a fatal mistake, crash landed on Earth for the first time in so long, so many, probably hundreds of years that we know about. And it made such a fatal mistake that it drove our technology to proportions that we live with now, but we could not have believed back then. I mean, we have a fucking supercomputer in our fucking pocket right now. Right now.
That's for damn sure.
We are recording on a system that is much more powerful, probably 50 to 100 times more powerful than the shuttle that took us to the moon right now.
Yeah, agreed.
And that makes you wonder, why haven't they been back to the fucking moon?
Ah, man, like every time I hear that, it's always like it always takes me back to that one creepypasta where it's like,
Oh
why we never
yeah,
went back to the moon.
yeah, I
And
remember that one.
yeah, I love that one.
That's a
So,
classic.
uh, I don't think I think that we probably are sitting on a lot of technology right now that the public doesn't know about,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
there's reasons why they don't know about it. I'm thinking that the knowledge that we have far surpasses what we know about, but they're releasing it in small waves just as much as they think that the public can handle at a time.
Right, right. And
Right,
I think that's a brilliant idea for those that could not handle the concept. That's great.
right.
What they're doing
Hmm.
is very smart. But for those of us
Hmm.
who can handle the concept of aliens, because we grew up around creepypastas and horror stories and facts, we grew up learning this stuff. Like
Right.
me, I'm 25. I'm about 10 years younger than you, right? You're
Hmm.
34.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
grew up in the age of technology where, when I was born, it was VHS tapes and cassette players. And then 3 years
Same.
after I was born, it was CDs and CD players. And then a few years later, it was cell phones and better
Right.
computers. And then a few more years, 2010, 10 years ago, we had fucking supercomputers in our pockets. And then now 10 years later, we have fucking powerful ass gear. And I'm only 25, and in just 25 years, I grew up in an age of technology where the growth has been so exponential. And
Same.
someday they're going to look back on these dates, around the 95 era, and be like,
Hmm.
those people grew up in a time when technology was growing at such a rapid rate. And that's why I
Yeah,
think
agreed.
people from my age are going to be the ones who really push the world towards a better direction, hopefully, if the
Hopefully,
government doesn't,
yes.
we get some better people in government, more realistic
Right.
people, not money-hungry business people. But,
It's going to be a hard turn, but yeah, hopefully.
yeah, but we grew up in such an age that we are going to understand things at a better rate than those who came before us, because we grew up
Agreed.
watching things grow so rapidly and so quickly that we could handle the change of of growing technology coming out every fucking day. We could
Yeah,
handle
because
that.
just to hit home on a what's it called point that you made here, I
Hmm.
remember back in the day the Nintendo Entertainment System, which was the system
Yes.
that I had when I was a kid. That was
Yes.
just peak gaming technology. It was just like, wow, this is so amazing. I can make Super Mario run and jump. This is great. And now there's computers out there that can make virtual reality worlds so lifelike that you can post pictures of it on the internet and people would mistake it for the real thing.
Oh
You know?
yeah, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
our filming technology. We have Blue's Clues on for our son every day because he's a lot like me and apparently loves Blue's Clues just like I did when I was his age. And we're talking about the OG
Yeah.
Blue's Clues with Steven Burns
Right.
as Steve.
Yes.
And I'm watching how they have the mail time in every episode. I'm watching the filming technology and the cameras they use and the graphics quality of the camera they used back in
Mhm.
2006, 2003. And I'm looking at the quality of cameras now, and I'm like, wow, look
They're
at the
completely different.
growth. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just a
Mhm.
20-year growth. It's not even 20-year
Yeah.
growth. And it's like, holy shit.
It's incredible.
And actually, to make a point, you mentioned that when you were younger, Nintendo Entertainment System was peak gaming technology, right?
Right.
And that's true. That was at the time. But you got to think about it like this, though. Gaming grew a bit weirder than most. It was a bit of a slower growth. It had to grow with our technology. We didn't just have the technology available. And
Right.
for the first semester of my college, we had English, and we had to do a paper on something we're passionate about. So I chose gaming, right? And I actually have to bring up the essay here. But the first game developed, you'll never believe the date of the first developed game, not publicly released. Oh yeah, I did the paper on
Mhm.
video game addiction. I'm sorry, I should make that more clear. Video game addiction.
Okay.
But the first game released was a lot earlier than you probably think about. When do you think the
Uh,
first game was created?
I mean, based on my knowledge of gaming, I would say like the 1960s, but the way that you're phrasing the question, I'm going to say 1940 because that would be the time where I just would not believe it.
Well, you're actually pretty close on both of those. The first game ever developed, it was not publicly available. I'm going to make that clear. The first game publicly available was Pong back in the 60s. But the first
Right.
game ever developed was Table for Two, which was created in 1958.
Huh.
A year, 11 years before we went to the moon. And it was pretty much like Pong. It was just like Pong. I should
Yeah.
make that clear. It was pretty much just Pong that was not publicly released. But
Right.
it was made on those old computers that had like the green like circle screen and whatnot that only scientists used. And but
the Matrix screen.
yes, the Matrix screen. But the first game publicly available was Pong.
Right.
And that was in the 60s. That was like 64, 66 maybe. I can't remember the exact date. But still, though, the technology of gaming, a lot like our technology we have now, had to grow with our technology. But you're right. It has grown to a point where we have VR worlds where we could literally live in a VR world. We could.
Mm-hmm.
We could strap on that headset, never move from our couch. If someone paid all our bills, you were a billionaire. You could literally just strap on a headset and never leave.
Yeah.
You can never leave. And, imagine, actually, there's one guy I watch, Forge Labs on YouTube. He does a lot of Minecraft content where he plays in modded worlds and different kind of survivals. One of my favorites is he survived 100 days in a zombie survival, and it became progressively harder every day. But he went and played Minecraft for a week straight in VR. And he was telling that, he would have dreams of just being in the Minecraft world.
Yeah, I imagine that.
But, I mean, it's so crazy, though, that the technology of gaming, the technology in general has grown just so much, man. And I'm excited to see where it goes. But you know what I'm more excited about? The release of information on aliens. I want them to finally come out and just say, yeah, they're real. They live on Mars. They live on this planet. They live on this planet. They're literally our celestial. I can't think of the word. Celestial neighbors. I think that's the term. Because come on, anyone who has a brain and has really looked into it and doesn't just automatically dismiss it will tell you, well, there's some evidence here that there's got to be life on other planets. There's got to be some kind of other alien, human. I'm gonna say human-like, and I use that as kind of an umbrella term. I'm thinking of a creature with like a head, arms, legs, body.
Right. Like the typical humanoid.
Yeah. With a brain, with like a brain that allows them to be capable like us. That's what I think when I say humanistic. There's got to be something. I mean, if we could come out from being a carbon-based life form, whether we were created by design by another alien species just to have fun and see what we would do or whatnot, even if we were just organically grown this way, still, we cannot be the only ones. And it's already been proven that Mars was very Earth-like way back in the day. Billions of years ago, there were pretty much two Earths. There was this Earth and Mars, which apparently, from what scientists say based off their studies, I'm going to say that before we get into this. Based off their studies and interpretations of what they have discovered, Mars at one point was very Earth-like. So who's to say that at one point, a species that came way before us lived there, grew there, and when they realized their planet was dying, they had to come up with the technology to move on quickly.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and on top of that, all we've ever sent to Mars is, probes and just things to just kind of gauge the terrain, and the rover. And
to send back samples of the terrain. Yeah.
Right. So we haven't been over there. We haven't done our deep digs. We haven't really spent nearly the amount of time just gathering informations on the world that we would need to absolutely say, yeah, nothing ever lived here, or no, something absolutely lived here, and in fact, it lived here in ways that we never imagined. Because right now we're looking at it through a lens. We're just from far away, just getting little snapshots. We're not getting the full story.
Who actually has some really good videos on life on other planets is Bedtime Stories. They release occasionally different things, like what happened to the Pluto rover or whatever. That was their most recent one. And
I saw that one.
You watched that one the other day when it was released?
Oh yeah, I love their channel, man.
And
Their
that one
content's
is
great.
so weird because even the scientists, Russian scientists, were like, we have no idea. But based off what we've seen, it is what the U.S. describes as a UFO that crashed and
Right.
destroyed this thing.
Mhm.
And when you look at the pictures, they have in that video, it looks like a giant cannon.
It does.
It looks like a giant cannon.
Mhm.
And
And
it moved. Like, if you look at the pictures, it did angle itself.
right. It's weird, man. I mean, like I honestly do love, and this is why I always feel like right at home in the paranormal, supernatural community and all that is because I love the feeling, the thought that there is more to the world than what I can physically see, and that what science can explain. So, I mean, yeah, aliens, dude, absolutely, they're out there, and
They
it's
have to
just.
be.
Mhm.
They have to be. There's gotta be something. It's just logistically not possible to have all these planets in just our solar system alone. There's planets in our solar system we don't even know about because our technology cannot record them.
Right.
You know,
What are we talking about? Like Planet X,
we're talking about
just
Planet
outside.
X, and we have an idea of what our full solar system looks like. Our Milky Way galaxy, but we haven't seen everything in the Milky Way galaxy, and any scientist will tell you that we have not seen the entirety of our own solar system. So we don't know what's beyond. We have an idea of what's beyond Pluto, but we don't know for sure. There could be other
Right.
planets that are revolving around us right now that we don't know about, like Planet X. The Planet X
Right.
theory is kind of weird. You know how they say it can kind of go invisible at times and whatnot. That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
little.
little funny.
It's a little out there. Is it to say it's not true? I don't know. But
Yeah.
the theory alone that there are other planets that we don't know about is very realistic. And the other problem is
Right.
that our universe is constantly growing. We
Mhm.
physically watch it grow through our cameras, and
Yes.
there's just so much to our universe that we don't know. Because there's so
And
many other galaxies and solar systems and solar system clusters, and there's black holes, which we have no idea we have an idea of what a black hole does. It sucks up all light, energy, everything around it in like a vacuum. But we
Mhm.
don't know what's on the other side of a black hole.
Right.
And if you
So I
think
mean,
about
it's
how
exciting stuff, dude.
oh, it is. It's so exciting. And when it comes to the
Yeah.
solar system planet study, I get really excited, as you can tell.
Yeah. And what was I gonna say is that's another thing that happened just recently is that now we know what a black hole looks like. They just
Yeah.
recently invented that technology to be able to capture it, right?
Right, because it bends all light around it and it camouflages
Right.
it. So we just recently were able to see what a black hole actually looks like. And everything we
Mhm.
grew up with learning about black holes was just artist interpretations. But now we
Right.
know what they look like. And it's terrifying.
It's exhilarating. I love it.
You ever heard of a white hole?
No, yeah, no, I have never heard of that.
I don't know if it's exactly called a white hole, but essentially it's the same thing as a black hole, except
Mhm.
I think it does something a little bit different. I'm not sure if it pushes objects out of it, but
Mhm.
I just recently learned about it. But essentially it's like a black hole, I think, where it sucks everything in, but I think it's more light based. It focuses more on light. It sucks all light in, so it's a big white patch, essentially.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, and it's
That's
interesting.
cool.
Yeah. All right, my man. Well, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be my guest today.
Of course, happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, my man. And everyone watching, please go like and subscribe to the Midnight Bard. He has such great content. His voice, his narration voice is so unique, so distinct, and it is fucking dreamy. I'm not even gonna lie.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome, my man. Bard, you have a wonderful day, my man, all right?
All right, you too, amigo. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later, my man.
Adios.